Alright guys, welcome to lesson 3. We are converting unit rates. So, lesson 3, at the beginning of every lesson we start off with vocab, just like all the others. So essential vocab to start. I'm going to start off with the first one, a unit ratio. Unit ratio is a unit rate where the denominator is 1 unit. Please feel free at any time to stop the video if you need more time to write things down. I want to move on. We've got some examples of unit ratios. I've got 12 inches per 1 foot, 16 ounces per 1 pound, and 100 centimeters per 1 meter. If you notice, each one of these denominators is 1. Alright. Next word, we have dimensional analysis. And that is the process of including units of measure as factors when you compute. Sorry for the sloppiness. That's why I read it out for you. So I've got an example of this. I want you to pay more attention to the process rather than the actual numbers. I also implore you to watch the other video that I uploaded, the mini lesson on converting unit rates. It'll show you on how to do this as well before we get started into the main part of the lesson. So this is an example where we took 9 yards per second and converted it to feet per second. Again, I don't want you to focus on the numbers and how we did everything. I want you to watch the other mini lesson first and then focus on this. Now, one of the most important parts, I put it in the other video for converting unit rates, or these different conversion rates. We've got time, distance, weight, and volume, and each one tells you like 1 day equals 24 hours, or 1 yard equals 3 feet. These are extremely important when you are trying to solve problems for this lesson. And again, I showed you how to do these conversions in the other mini lesson. So please take a look at that if you have not already. So moving along with lesson 3, we've got our first example. So we've got a remote control car travels at a rate of 10 feet per second. So how many inches per second is this? So our first example, we're going to rewrite that first sentence and put it into the form that we know. So 10 feet, we're going to put it as a fraction, 10 feet per 1 second. Okay, so we're taking 10 feet per 1 second and we want to convert that over to inches per second. All right, so we're going to start off. We're going to rewrite 10 feet per 1 second, and we need to convert feet over to inches. So we're going to put a little multiplying dot, and we need to convert feet over to inches. So we're converting feet to inches. We're converting inches from feet, so since we're converting it from feet, we're going to put feet right beneath it. Now, if we look at that conversion table, we can see that 1 foot equals 12 inches. So now that we have 2 units that are the same, one as a numerator and one as a denominator, we can divide them out. So feet, one on top, one on the bottom, they can go away. We keep the numbers, but we get rid of the units. So we're left with inches on top, seconds on the bottom as our only units, which is exactly what we need to get to. So once we get what we need to get to, we have inches and seconds. What we need are inches over seconds. We can multiply across. You multiply across, When I say that, I mean you multiply the numerators across, you multiply the denominators across. So we're going to multiply 10 times 12 inches all over 1 second times 1. So 10 times 12 is 120 inches. And 1 second times 1 is 1 second. So we've gotten to our unit ratio. We have 120 inches per 1 second. Our denominator is 1. So we are finished. We started with 10 feet per second, and we finished with 120 inches per second. All right, so example number 2. We have a swordfish can swim at a rate of 60 miles per hour. How many feet per hour is this? So just like in the last problem, I start off by putting 60 miles over 1 hour. And I'm converting this over to feet per hour. All right, so if we notice, hours are going to hours. We do not need to convert hours to anything since we already have hours as our denominator. But we need to convert miles over to feet. So we're going to start off 60 miles over 1 hour, and we're going to multiply. So we are converting miles to feet. So it's going on the same numerator. We've got miles in the numerator. We're converting it over to feet in our numerator. Now the opposite, the denominator, is going to be what we're converting from, the miles. We're converting from miles to feet. So miles will be there on the bottom. So again, if we take a look at our conversion chart, we have 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So I've got my units set up, 5,280 feet for 1 mile. Now if I take a look again, I've got both miles as a numerator and as a denominator. So I can divide those out. The miles are gone. We converted the miles over to feet. So we've got hours as the only unit on the bottom and feet as the only unit as the numerator. So we're finished converting and we can multiply across. So my numerators are 60 times 5,280 feet. And that's over 1 hour times 1. So 60 times 5,280, that should give you 316,800 feet. 1 hour times 1 is 1 hour. So that would be your final answer since our denominator is now 1, 316,800 feet per hour. Example 3. So Marvin walks at a speed of 7 feet per second. How many feet per hour is this? So I'm going to look real quick and see if I have how many seconds are in an hour. I do. 3,600 seconds in 1 hour. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. So we are going to rewrite 7 feet per second. That's our first part of the sentence, 7 feet per second. And we want to know how many feet per hour this is. So if we notice again, feet are both in both numerators when we're converting, so I do not need to convert feet to anything. That unit is already set. But we do need to get seconds to hours. So we're going to put 7 feet over 1 second. Our first step is to multiply. So we're converting seconds to hours. It stays on the same. We got seconds in denominator. We're converting it to hours, stays as the denominator. What goes in the opposite, which is the numerator, is what we're converting from, the seconds. So, like just in my table, 1 hour equals 3,600 seconds, I can plug those numbers right into this equation. 1 hour equals 3,600 seconds. So, saying that, I've got seconds both here as a numerator and the denominator, so I'm going to go ahead and divide those out. We're left with feet over hours. So now I can just multiply across. Got 7 feet, times 3,600. All over 1 times 1 second. So 7 times 3,600 should give you 25,200 feet. And that's all over 1 times 1 second, which will give you 1 second. Your denominator is down to 1. So that gives you 25,200 feet per second. So we got 2 example problems. We'll start with A. And these are pretty simple. They just cover examples 1 through 3, and then we'll have example 4 after these 2. So we've got a goal can fly at a speed of 22 miles per hour. About how many feet per hour can the goalie fly? So those are our 2 key pieces of information here. So we're going to take 22 miles per 1 hour, and we want to convert that to feet per hour. All right, so if we notice again, we have hours as a denominator, and what we're trying to get to is hours as a denominator over here. So we do not need to convert hours. It's already set. So we need to convert miles to feet. So we're going to take 22, that's miles per 1 hour, and we're going to convert those miles to feet. So we're going to multiply. Again, we're converting miles over to feet. That's going to stay in our numerator. Our denominator is going to be what we're converting from. That's miles. If I take a look at my conversion chart, I see that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So if that's the case, I can plug those numbers right in. 5,280 feet per 1 mile. Miles are here on the denominator and the numerator, so I can get rid of those because we've converted the miles over to feet. Now I can multiply across since I have feet as my numerator, hours as my denominator. Those are my only 2 units left, and that's exactly where I need to be. So I'm going to set it up, 22 times 5,280 feet divided by 1 hour times 1. When you get that, you should get 116,160 feet, and that's all over 1 hour. Since our denominator is 1, we can move that and move on. B. We have an Amtrak train travels at 125 miles per hour, Key piece of information right there. We want to convert that speed to miles per minute. So we want 125 miles per hour. We want to convert that over to miles per minute. So just like the last one, we're converting miles over to miles. We don't need to do that. It's already converted. There's nothing to convert there. So all we need to do is convert hours to minutes. So we're going to take our 125 miles over 1 hour. We're going to multiply. Again, we're converting hours to minutes. What needs to go on top? Our hours. That's what we're converting from. If I look at my handy dandy sheet, look at time, 1 hour equals 60 minutes. And plug those numbers right in. 1 hour, 60 minutes. So, looking at that, I've got hours both at the top and at the bottom, so I can get rid of those. I'm left with miles over minutes. I can multiply across now. 125 miles times 1, all over 1 times 60 minutes, which would give me 125 miles per 60 minutes. And in order to get my denominator to 1, we need to divide by 60. So divide both top and bottom by 60, or 125 divided by 60 should give you 2.1 miles per 1 minute. Our denominator is now 1, and we have our answer. So we have one more problem, example 4. That says the average speed of one team in a relay race is about 10 miles per hour. So that's our first key piece of information. What is this speed in feet per second? So we want to convert 10 miles per 1 hour over to feet per second. So this is a different one. We've got to convert miles to feet, and we also need to convert hours over to seconds. So let's start off first. We're going to rewrite it. 10 miles for 1 hour. So I always like to start off doing the numerator first, so we'll start off with miles. We need to convert miles over to feet. And we're converting it from miles. So I'll take a look at my sheet, and it says that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So with knowing that, I can plug those numbers right in. Feet are right here, so I'm going to put 5,280 feet. And that was for 1 mile. So I noticed that I have miles here on the bottom, miles here on the top. Those can divide out. So I'm left with feet here on top, hours here on the bottom. So I'm still need to get seconds. I've got my feet up top. Those are finished. I do not need to convert feet anymore. But I still need to convert hours over to seconds. So we'll continue. We'll add another multiplication step. So we can convert hours over to seconds. So if I look at my handy dandy worksheet right after I put hour up here, because remember we're converting from hours to seconds. So I'm going to look at my sheet, and I've got 1 hour equals 3,600 seconds. So I'm going to take that information, plug it right into my equation. So 1 hour equals 3,600 600 seconds. So hours, I've got one on top and one on the bottom. So I'm going to divide those out, which leaves me with just the numbers. And I'm left with seconds here on the bottom, which is exactly what I need. So I'm left with feet as my numerator, my only unit as a numerator. My only unit in the denominator is seconds that are left, which is exactly what I need. So now I can multiply across. So we've got 10 times 5,280 feet times 1. That's my numerator. My denominator is 1 times 1 times 3,600 seconds. Now if I multiply that across, that gives me 52,800 feet per 3,600 seconds. Now I just need to simplify that, so I can divide 52,800 divided by 3,600. When you do that, you should get 14.7 feet per 1 second. My denominator is down to 1, which means I am finished. So thank you guys for watching. Again, I had a little mini lesson posted as well on converting unit rates on how to do these problems. So please watch that before, and I will see you guys in class. Have a great rest of your day.